In the sterile glow of a hospital room, where the beeps of machines echoed like a relentless heartbeat, a little girl named Lily lay motionless on her bed, her legs as still as forgotten dreams. She was 8 years old, the daughter of Dr. Elias Thorne, one of the city's most renowned surgeons, a man who had mended countless broken bodies but could not fix his own child's. Born with a rare congenital disorder that left her lower limbs paralyzed, Lily had never taken a single step. Her world was confined to wheelchairs, braces, and the endless parade of specialists who poked and prodded, only to shake their heads in defeat. But what if I told you that hope sometimes wears the humblest disguise? That a miracle wasn't born in a lab coat, but in the calloused hands of an unlikely hero? Stick with me through this tale of heartbreak, resilience, and unbreakable spirit. It's a story that will touch your soul and remind you why we never give up. And if it moves you half as much as it moved me, hit that like button and subscribe for more inspiring stories that prove ordinary people can change everything. Dr. Elias Thorne was a titan in the operating room, his scalpel a wand that commanded life and death. He lived in a sprawling mansion on the hill, where marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers, and his days were filled with accolades, conferences, and the quiet agony of watching his daughter waste away. Lily was his light, a bright-eyed girl with a laugh like tinkling bells and a mind sharp as her father's instruments. She devoured books on adventures she could never have, climbing mountains, dancing under stars, running through fields of wildflowers. One day, "Daddy," she'd whisper, her small hand clutching his, "I'll chase the butterflies myself." Elias had spent fortunes on therapies, experimental surgeries, stem cell trials, custom prosthetics. Nothing worked. The doctors, his colleagues, murmured about acceptance, about quality of life in a wheelchair. But Elias couldn't accept it. He buried himself in work, leaving Lily in the care of nurses and the hospital's unsung heroes, the cleaning staff. Among them was Maria Ruiz, a single mother with tired eyes and a heart as vast as the ocean she had crossed from her homeland years ago. Maria scrubbed floors until they shone, emptied bins overflowing with the remnants of others' lives, and whispered prayers in Spanish as she worked the night shifts. Her son, Javier, was her everything, a lanky 12-year-old with messy hair, grease-stained fingers, and a knack for tinkering that bordered on genius. Javier spent his after-school hours in junkyards and garages, scavenging parts to build contraptions, a solar-powered fan for their tiny apartment, a pulley system to help Maria carry groceries up 3 flights of stairs. He dreamed of becoming an engineer, but school was a battle, bullies called him the janitor's kid, and scholarship seemed as distant as the stars. Maria brought him to the hospital sometimes, when childcare fell through, and he'd sit in the break room, sketching inventions on napkins while she mopped. It was on one such evening that Javier first noticed Lily. He peeked into her room while Maria cleaned the adjacent hallway, drawn by the sound of her giggling at a cartoon on the TV. Lily's wheelchair sat empty beside the bed, her legs draped lifelessly under the sheets. Javier, ever curious, wandered in. "Hey, what's that show?" he asked, pointing at the screen where animated characters leaped and twirled. Lily turned, her eyes lighting up. "It's about a girl who finds a magic key to walk in her dreams." "I'm Lily." "Who are you?" Javier introduced himself, and in that moment, a friendship sparked. He didn't see her paralysis as a barrier. To him, it was just another puzzle to solve, like the broken radios he fixed at home. As days turned to weeks, Javier became a regular visitor. He'd sneak in after school, sharing stories of his inventions. Lily, isolated from kids her age, found in him a kindred spirit. "Show me how you build stuff," she'd beg, and Javier would demonstrate with whatever scraps he could find, twisting wires from discarded medical equipment into makeshift robots or gears from old clocks into spinning tops. But beneath the laughter lurked Lily's quiet despair. "I wish I could run like those characters," she'd say, her voice cracking. Javier would nod, his young mind whirring. One night, as Maria finished her shift, Javier overheard Dr. Thorne arguing with a specialist in the hall. "We've exhausted every option," the doctor said. Surgery risks permanent damage. Therapy plateaued years ago. Elias's face crumpled, a rare crack in his armored facade. Javier tugged at his mother's sleeve. "Mom, why can't Lily walk? She's so nice." Maria sighed, explaining the condition in simple terms: nerves damaged from birth, muscles atrophied, no signals from brain to legs. But Javier's eyes gleamed with that stubborn spark. What if someone tried something different? Not doctor's stuff, but real fixing? Maria shushed him, warning him not to meddle in the rich folks' business. They were the help, invisible unless something spilled. Yet Javier couldn't let it go. He started researching in the public library, poring over books on biomechanics, robotics, and neurology. He sketched wild ideas: exoskeletons powered by batteries, neural bridges made from salvaged tech. Challenges mounted quickly. Schoolwork suffered as he stayed up late, soldering circuits under a desk lamp. Bullies at school ramped up their taunts when they saw his weird drawings. At home, money was tight. Maria worked double shifts, but parts cost more than they could afford. Javier scavenged what he could: old bike chains, motors from broken toys, but it wasn't enough. Meanwhile, Lily's condition worsened. An infection from a recent procedure left her bedridden, her spirit dimming. Elias, racked with guilt, spent nights in his study, reviewing medical journals until his eyes blurred. He barely noticed the boy hovering around his daughter, dismissing him as the cleaner's kid. One afternoon, as Lily lay pale and withdrawn, Javier burst in with a prototype, a clunky brace rigged with pulleys and springs, pieced together from junkyard finds. "Let me try," he said, his voice steady despite the tremble in his hands. Lily's eyes widened. "Try what?" Javier explained his idea: a mechanical assist that used leverage and counterweights to mimic walking motions, bypassing the damaged nerves with manual overrides. It was rudimentary, inspired by puppet strings and medieval armor diagrams he'd found in books. Elias, entering the room, overheard and exploded. "Absolutely not. Who do you think you are? This isn't a game, get out." The confrontation was a turning point, a clash of worlds. Maria was called in, mortified, apologizing profusely. "He's just a boy, doctor. He means well." But Lily, tears streaming, begged her father. "Please, Daddy. Nothing else works. Let him try." Elias stormed out, but the seed was planted. That night, alone with his thoughts, he reflected on his own beginnings, a poor kid from the streets who clawed his way to medical school through sheer grit. Hadn't he once been like Javier, daring to dream big? The next day, he relented, but with conditions: supervised tests, no risks. Javier's heart soared, but the real challenges began. The prototype failed spectacularly, springs snapped, braces chafed, and Lily cried in frustration. "It's no use," she sobbed after a week of tweaks. Javier faced doubt from all sides. Nurses whispered about liability, Maria worried about her job, and Elias hovered like a hawk, ready to pull the plug. Yet Javier persisted, iterating relentlessly. He incorporated feedback from Lily, who described the sensations she could feel. He studied her X-rays, with Elias's reluctant permission, adjusting angles for her specific anatomy. Funds ran dry, so Javier organized a neighborhood fundraiser, selling his inventions at a street fair, sharing Lily's story, anonymously, to rally support. The community responded, donations trickled in, from mechanics offering parts to kids pooling allowance money. Emotional depth surfaced in quiet moments, Javier confessing his fears of failure to Maria, who shared her own story of immigrating alone, pregnant, chasing the American dream. "We try because we must, Mijo," she said, hugging him. Lily opened up about her loneliness, how she felt like a burden. "You're not," Javier assured her. "You're the bravest person I know." Elias, witnessing this, confronted his ego. He began collaborating, blending his surgical knowledge with Javier's ingenuity. Together, they refined the device: lightweight alloys, biofeedback sensors scavenged from old hospital gear, ergonomic supports. Months blurred into a montage of trials and triumphs. Lily's first assisted step was agony. Muscles screaming after years of disuse, but she pushed through, Javier cheering her on. Setbacks hit hard. A power failure during a test left her collapsing, reigniting Elias's doubts. Javier nearly quit, overwhelmed by the pressure, but Lily's words echoed, "You said, let me try. Now it's my turn to try harder." Their bond deepened, a surrogate siblinghood forged in vulnerability. Maria and Elias found common ground too, late-night coffees in the hospital cafeteria, sharing parental worries. Maria revealed how Javier's father had abandoned them, leaving her to fight alone. Elias admitted his wife's death in childbirth had left him emotionally crippled, mirroring Lily's physical state. The breakthrough came on a crisp autumn day. The final prototype, dubbed Lily's Wings, was a sleek exoskeleton, battery-powered hydraulic sync to her arm movements, allowing her to control strides manually while rebuilding neural pathways through repetition. Strapped in, Lily stood shakily in the hospital gym. The room held its breath: Elias, Maria, nurses, even skeptical doctors. Javier knelt beside her. "You got this. One step." Lily gripped the bars, willed her body forward. Her foot lifted, hesitated, then planted. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Another step. Then another. Tears flowed as she crossed the room, collapsing into her father's arms. "I walked, Daddy." The miracle wasn't just mechanical, it was the fusion of hearts, privilege and perseverance uniting. Word spread like wildfire. News outlets hailed Javier as a prodigy, scholarships poured in, securing his future. Elias founded a foundation for accessible tech, partnering with Maria, who became its community liaison. Lily, now thriving in physical therapy, chased those butterflies in the park, Javier by her side. But the true resolution lay in the lessons: that empathy bridges divides, that "let me try" ignites change, that heroes emerge from the shadows. As the sun sets on this story, remember Lily's first step wasn't just hers, it was a leap for all of us, proving that kindness and courage can move mountains. If this tale inspired you, touched your heart, or made you believe in the impossible, smash that like button. It helps spread these stories far and wide. And subscribe to the channel for more emotional journeys that remind us of our shared humanity. Who knows? Your next favorite story might be the one that changes your life. Thank you for joining. Keep trying, keep believing.